Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Think Before You Hate podcast. I'm Alex of the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, and we are the city's civil rights agency. What we do is we fight discrimination and hate via enforcing the Chicago Human Rights Ordinance as well as the Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance. Today we have a special episode in light of Trans Day of Visibility, which is quickly approaching, March 31st. We have Albe Gutierrez and Silas Leslie of the Chicago Therapy Collective, and I want to thank you both for joining us on this podcast. And without further ado, will you please, each one of you, tell us a little bit about yourselves and where did each one of you grow up? Anyone? Let's see.
I can start because I know Silas is actually from this area, and I am a transplant. I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico, but I grew up actually in Juarez, Mexico, and around the surrounding pueblos and reservations of northern New Mexico. And I moved to Chicago for graduate school because I really wanted to attend an esteemed institution, so I attended the School of the Art Institute of Chicago.
Okay.
And that's how I got here.
Nice. And yourself?
Hi, Silas Leslie, they, them pronouns. I am a born and raised Chicagoan. I grew up in Chatham, went to college here, currently live on the far north side. Can't imagine living anywhere beyond Chicago. It's the best city.
I love it here, and I'm a transplant myself. I originally grew up in Connecticut, and I wouldn't say a super small town, but a suburb that is about an hour and a half, give or take, outside of New York City. And ever since I moved here, I fell in love with the city. Second that sentiment. Well, will you both please tell the audience about the Chicago Therapy Collective and what is the Chicago Therapy Collective?
Silas has been working at this agency longer, so will you lead this one?
Yes, absolutely. Chicago Therapy Collective is a LGBTQ mental health focused nonprofit. We provide no barrier clinical services to members of the LGBTQ community. In addition to our clinical services, we provide arts programming, community programming. We do advocacy and community engagement. We are one of the three trans-led organizations in the city proper. So we have been around since 2018, and Andersonville based currently.
I would like an answer for both of you on this. What is Trans Day of Visibility, and why should everyone know of this day?
Ooh, Trans Day of Visibility is actually an international observance. It happens every year on March 31st. And I believe it started in, actually, 2000? Oh gosh, I feel bad not remembering the history of it. But I know it was designed to honor the passing of trans folks, especially by violence. And so because it's an international observance, it's well known by the community, members of the LGBT community and trans folks worldwide as a day to honor that we exist and have always existed.
Yeah, Trans Day of Visibility is in sort of communication with Trans Day of Remembrance, which is in November. That is really that time where we remember those who came before us, those we've lost. And Trans Day of Visibility is really the time for us to celebrate our resilience, our survival, our thriving in spite of systemic and cultural barriers against us.
Perfect. Albe, it's my understanding you're the bilingual psychotherapist and senior operations manager of the Chicago Therapy Collective. What does your role entail, and what's your main entail?
That is my position, and so it's two important roles that I hold there. The first piece being clinical. So I do provide clinical services in English and Spanish to everybody, which is great because one important function of clinical work, especially psychotherapy, especially mental health, is connecting with someone who might share a particular identity with you. It provides a safer environment to connect, to discuss the impacts of oppression, trauma, also the joys of life, things that people do to enjoy themselves and build resilience. So that's one important part of what I do as a psychotherapist there. And I'm an art therapist. And this, to me, makes the therapy practice a lot more fun because I get to use art. I actually studied fine arts at the University of New Mexico. So I have a really strong background in fine arts, also costume design. And so a lot of what I do as a therapist is incorporate a variety of artistic mediums to allow folks to express themselves, especially queer people. Like Silas was saying, we have survived a lot of attempts at erasure, at minimizing us and who we are and our identities. And art therapy is a great medium for expressing the ways that we find joy, joy and strength together. So that's that big clinical piece. And I'm also an art nerd. I love art. Just earlier, I was dancing in front of the giant Picasso sculpture downtown. So I really am also a fan of art, just all sorts of art, fashion, photography. And as a senior operations manager, one important thing that I do is help coordinate a lot of the special events in collaboration with Silas, in collaboration with other team members, and in collaboration with a lot of other agencies around the city and the state as well. And that includes arts events. So every year we do a trans stage takeover of Midsummer Arts Weekend and Midsummer Fest in Andersonville, where our offices are based. And we also do events for Trans Day Visibility, Trans Day of Remembrance, and other important LGBTQ days. June, Pride Month, is also a great month, and we're often very busy celebrating and enjoying all those fun things that Pride brings, especially in the city of Chicago. And also like our upcoming event for TDOV this year with CCHR is one thing that I've been a part of. As well as with Silas in developing and creating all these fun events, advocacy events as well. And that is really maybe where I can pass it off to Silas to describe how they do that part.
And well, you could elaborate on that as you would like to as well, Silas, but I wanted to ask you if you could tell our audience what you do for the Chicago Therapy Collective. Your title is, my understanding, the Advocacy and Community Engagement Manager.
I recently, as of this week, moved into a new position at Chicago Therapy Collective. I'm now the Senior Manager of External Affairs. Still trying to remember what that actually is. So yes, Senior Manager of External Affairs. Advocacy is still a significant part of my role. It's really something I'm passionate about, so I'm really glad that I'm able to do it. We are working to build community and encourage legislation on the city and state level that embraces and centers especially the mental health needs of the LGBTQ community. So I do advocacy stuff, which is a lot of fun. I also am really fortunate to work with businesses and ERGs, so employee resource groups, to help ensure that their workplace and hiring practices are LGBTQ inclusive, and they also have access to LGBTQ affirming mental health services. So we provide training and consultation to businesses, and that's something that I am fortunate to kind of project manage as well as participate in. And then we do referral relationships with businesses as well as other nonprofits to ensure that through Chicago Therapy Collective, employees have access to LGBTQ affirming mental health services, because it is a dearth of LGBTQ affirming mental health services in the city.
Perfect. Well, it's very important work. Now, Chicago Therapy Collective uses art, storytelling, and performance as part of its work. How can creative spaces help people process trauma and build community? You can kick us off, Albe.
Totally. I'm thinking about, in particular, some current work with some of my clients, and really an important part of the therapy process that I bring, especially with clients who identify as queer, part of the LGBT community, and particularly trans, is that intellectualizing of trauma is one aspect of how it impacts us, but the embodiment of trauma is sometimes overlooked. And so intellectualizing healing can only go so far, and really the embodiment of healing is where the arts programming that we do as an organization, and art making and art therapy that I provide as a clinician, all really bring this intellectual or thought-based way of understanding our world, into the embodiment and how we experience that, how we move through the world, where we work, how we dress, what we do with friends and family, and how we connect. So a lot of the programming and events and just the work overall of Chicago Therapy Collective is really about giving folks the opportunity to embody trans joy, queer joy, grief, mourning, all the ways that like being a human impacts our lived experience, and finding safer spaces with other queer folks, particularly people of color, people who speak other languages as well.
Perfect. Now, this question's for both of you. Do both of you each have a favorite story of healing or impact from your work with the Chicago Therapy Collective that you'd like to share?
I think I'll talk about last TDOR, Trans Day of Remembrance 2025. We had a professional photo shoot opportunity for folks in our community. And I know that was really a fun experience for folks to have the opportunity to be in a safer place and take professional photography, professional portraits, for things like social media or LinkedIn or resumes. Like having professional headshots or portraits is a really important way, I think, to embody, like, I am a human, I can be a professional, I am trans or gay or queer, and having the same dignity and respect. So we had a lot of great folks come and participate in that, and that was really fun.
Yeah. And Silas?
Yeah, I think something that has kind of stuck with me for years at this point, we had a free community Trans 101 training in collaboration with one of the Chambers of Commerce, which are amazing partners. Shout out to the Chambers of Commerce in the city. But we hosted this Trans 101 training, and after I finished the training, I was just kind of standing there, kind of packing my things up, and this person approached me and told me with like sincere emotion in her voice that she had a trans child, and she felt that this training provided her tools to better relate to and understand her trans child. And she had appreciated me sharing aspects of my experience as a non-binary person, as a trans person. And she just felt a little more secure in talking to her trans child after the training. And she asked me if she could hug me. And I'm like, sure, of course. And yeah, it's been years now, but just the power of like education is just so important. And I think that's one of the really exciting things that CTC does, is educate folks and make the world a little safer and better for the LGBTQ people that inhabit it.
Perfect. So our podcast focuses on addressing hate and building understanding. From a mental health perspective, what support do individuals and communities need after experiencing discrimination or identity-based harm?
I think from, let's say, a legal perspective is understanding what rights they can enact or use.
Sure, that makes sense.
Which is there's often a barrier to that for queer folks because of fear of harm, prejudice, discrimination. So certainly that, I think, is something folks need to know, that there are rights and there are ways to be protected or take other legal action. And beyond that, people to witness it and to believe it, I think, is important for people's mental health. Anytime anyone survives something that's traumatic or violent, and having folks who care and can be patient about the experience of processing trauma. I think oftentimes we live in oftentimes people feel rushed because we live in a culture that's about urgency, that's about go, 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 or speed, or things need to be quick and short. The process of healing actually can take a lot of time. And so especially folks who live in a world that might be hostile often, the process of healing might even be slower. So I think folks need patience for themselves and from community and people who care about them.
Silas, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think something that is so important is accountability from the community and the people around them. I think Albe definitely touched on this, but I think empowering folks to be bystanders and intervene and support, which isn't something people just know how to do. People have to learn to be an effective bystander and interrupt hate and, violence when they witness it. Because I feel like so often people feel like frozen and don't know how to respond to these moments and just kind of allow these things to happen. And I think if we as communities can build greater networks of bystanders, so often these trauma and this pain, some of it could be lessened or stopped if we were better prepared to intervene in those moments.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Most often it's easy for people to be a passive bystander, but being a proactive bystander is always important. I feel even throughout our everyday lives, whether like we're in public transit, you see something going on, most people are like, that person will take care of it. Or I don't want to intervene. It's not my problem. So, yeah. Here's a question that I ask all of our podcast guests. So I'm going to ask both of you. In your opinion, what can our listeners do in their everyday lives to combat hate and discrimination? Either one of you can start. Silas, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think embody a bit more bravery in our lives. I think, we just touched on it in a minute about being an active bystander, and that takes bravery and strength, and it is exhausting sometimes, and it is sometimes thankless, and we still need to do it. We still need to be engaged citizens, engaged community members, engaged coworkers, and really stand up for things that we know are right and make sure we're really interrupting these moments. And I think that takes bravery. So be a little more brave.
Yeah.
I think an important thing for folks is to acknowledge within themselves and others that everything and every body is different and unique, and that's important and special. And I want to shout out my mother because when I was a young one, she sensed that, things were different for me. So I'm a trans person. And she used to say to me, and I remember this all the time, sometimes I even share this with clients, I'll share this now with the world, no one's better or worse. Everyone's just different. And I think that's an important way of framing the uniqueness that people have, especially people of a different gender, different race, different sexuality, that people are different, and it's those things that actually make life exciting.
Yeah, no, that's a really positive way to look at everyone's individuality. I love that. I really love that quote. Now, is there anything else that we haven't discussed today that either two of you want to bring up?
Ooh, maybe we should shout out. We have a lot of fun upcoming events for this year's TDOV. So that's great. We do have our Know Your Rights, Voices for Empowerment happening in collaboration with CCHR, and that will be on March 27th. And we'll be teaching folks how to file discrimination complaints with the commission. We also have events with Life is Work. We have events with Brave Space Alliance. And we will be having a press conference and our own celebration for TDOV to also highlight our growth as an agency. We will very soon be the largest LGBTQ mental health provider, nonprofit mental health provider in the state of Illinois.
Yes.
By Dove. So very exciting. And folks can follow us on social media, check out our website, and that's where all of the important things, all these great events can be found. So our Instagram, I think we have the most followers on that one. It's at Chai Therapy Collective. We do also have Blue Sky, Facebook, and our website is chicagotherapycollective.org.
And I just want to shout out one more TDOV event. On the 30th, we're having a virtual LGBTQ mental health policy and legislation town hall, where we're bringing leaders from the city and state and in the community together for a panel, and then Q&A with community members to really focus on what mental health issues the LGBTQ community are really prioritizing and need right now.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you you both for joining the podcast. I really learned a lot today, and I hope our listeners really enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And Albe and Silas, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Gracias.
And thank you very much to our listeners for joining in on another episode of the Think Before You Hate podcast. Remember, if you or anybody you know feels that they have been a victim of discrimination here in the city of Chicago, please do not hesitate to contact the Chicago Commission on Human Relations at 312-744-4111. Again, that is 312-744-4111. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on X, or formerly Twitter. And remember, until next time, think before you hate.